Mick's so consistent. I'm just trying to break apart his whole thing he had going on. And now that he's not on tour anymore, like I feel like it's just free for all information.
Well, that was a thing. I feel like some people, when they're on tour, they're super secretive. I asked so many questions when I was on tour, especially the older guys. If anyone asked me, even when I was on tour, I was just like, cool. I'll give you everything that I've got, you know. And if you can go and beat me with that same stuff, I've done my job.
The whole mindset of competing is just a really fun, kind of interesting thing to dive into. And so I think when, you know, there's people like you, Mick, who's so consistent, and like Gabe, you know, you've really found something that continues to work. And I think a great deal of it has to do with your mind and the way your mind works.
I always felt like I wasn't as talented as, you know, especially like the guys I grew up with, Parker and Dingo. So I had to figure out ways to beat them on a different level. And so that was something that I really dove into. Just that 1-2%, especially in those super clutch moments, that can change your whole year. That can change your whole life. Yeah, it was something that I put a lot of my success down to. I got a question for you, John. A lot of the fans sort of look at you and you have this stigma as you're pretty relaxed. You're not super competitive. When I look at you and I see a whole different thing to what they're seeing. I know how much work you put in behind the scenes. Like, is that a stigma you like, or is that something that you want to explode more, or it is what it is?
In reality, like, I spend like 98% of my time thinking about the tour and 98% of my time thinking about surfing as a whole. Like, I put so much time and I put so much energy into competing. It's crazy. Like, every single day, you know, I'm working towards it. And so, I mean, even how these different tweaks in your life can change things on a competitive scale.
Mm-hmm. I sort of look at you as almost the Roger Federer of our sport. You know, Roger Federer in his early years gave zero emotion, even still to this day. He gives zero emotion. He's just so one. And I feel like that's where you are, and people don't appreciate it. I wish they would see how competitive you really were sometimes.
Funny, because I work on being even less emotional about things too. Like, you know, if you get a 9, then it's just like, okay, that's cool. I got a 9. Well, I got to get another 9. Like, there's no other like celebration yet, you know?
What is the driving force to get a world title? What keeps driving you to want to be the best?
Pretty much for my 3rd world title, Kira Surf had a huge poster of Parko that I had to drive past every day to go surfing. And my whole driving force for that whole year was like, I'm changing that poster. And that was it.
That's funny.
But, you know, yeah, that's one story I can share. The other ones was I was just sick of losing. I was sick of being 3rd.
I think for me, it changes kind of every year. Last year, I had a little bit of a different thing. Like the first 3 events, like I didn't care what anyone was doing but Gabe. I was like, I don't care who won that event. Like, what did Gabe get? Because like, you know, I feel like he is that like that level right now, where that level is. Like, he's so consistent. He's such a good surfer, and he can do everything. He can do the airs. He can do the turns. And so for me, that fires me up to have someone like that on tour.
Going into Pipe last year must have been absolutely terrifying. I think you're about 6 months post-surgery.
Nerve-wracking. Mm-hmm. It was so gnarly because I got home from the sailing trip. The first thing I did was ride a really small like epoxy, which was probably my first mistake. But I stood up on it and I was like, oh, fuck. I can't surf yet. Pipe was like a month away, so I was like, there's no way. Like, I'm so far from it. Scary, because you know how pipe is, like backside, you feel like sometimes you get that backwash, or you'll have that one that kind of extends into the sandbar, and being in that backside barrel position, you're pretty vulnerable.
How bad is it, You just sit there in that stance and you're like, oh God, I'm just going to get squashed. It's the most terrifying thing.
You feel like the lip's right there the whole time.
Yeah. I remember one of my first surfs, it was a 2-foot wave, and I was just going down the line and Parker was on the side. He's like, pull in. And I was so scared to be anywhere near the barrel. I just fully tube avoided it and went around it and then fell off in front of the tube.
Yeah. Snapper is like such a compact wave. It feels like you're going faster down the line. You're making little twitch movements all the time in a lower position. whereas pipe is like, it's gnarly, but it's a drawn out canvas. You get into the barrel and you just felt like you had room, and you can kind of see what the wave was going to do almost, rather than being super compact and it just happening so quickly.
It'd be also nice that you don't have anyone else on the shoulder trying to paddle over it like it's Snapper when you're in a tube.
Exactly.
I don't see anyone.
Okay, so we're on the subject of injuries. Mick, I believe that there's a common thread between both of your recent injuries. Can you tell us what that might be?
Oh, how's Pizel? Is he giving out knee braces with all new boards now, or is he still rattled?
It was amazing on the Stab in the Dark trip, though. Once Mick got hurt and he validated that, okay, this is not a board to ride, the other guy's like, no, we're not touching it. And it was
That's
like,
so funny. Yeah, I could see that.
And everyone was like, you don't take green. Green is what you don't have on an Indo boat trip. That's bad luck. It's a bad omen, because that was the green spray.
That was the exact conversation 2 waves before that happened. And I was like, I think I might go in.
How did you do it exactly?
I was just doing like you do those layback carve downs.
Yeah.
And it just felt like the board was not coming, and I just got stuck in this position, and then all of a sudden just snapped out the other way, and I'm just like, fucking Geordie and his green fucking sprays, and I blame Geordie. Yeah. How was the psyche actually? Like, we're talking about how nerve-wracking it is to re-injure it again. This was your second year going through it. There was an extra hurt there where you were so far out in front for that third world title. Is that something that still stabs you in the heart?
Funny enough, not really. I mean, in the moment, it was a bummer, but I think I've had so much time to kind of wrap my mind around it that I'm not super fazed by it. And right when I did it, I knew right away. I was like damn it, I think that was it. That was like the final blow to it. So many thoughts went through my mind of just, I could brace it up and just go to J-Bay and just try to do some carves. But then, I don't know, I think my ultimate goal was to just be able to surf 100% again.
Just a question for me, because we discussed this the other day when we did one of these interviews with Ronnie. We're talking about shortened years, and Mick talked about the asterisks a lot. Do you see this being asterisks on Italo's world title, Mick?
I guess you sort of got to put it in perspective where my second world title was, is there an asterisk versus mine against Joel? I don't think so. but I guess people can always say that, he wasn't 100%, or he wasn't there, or this or that. I guess it's something that does pop up, and you sort of got to question it. But I don't think so. That's why it's a full year. You got to be healthy and strong throughout the full year, which is hard to take and hard to hear. But that's how I always felt about it.
Yeah, I don't think it does either at all, because it happened pretty early in the year. Brazil's fourth event, so there's so much time. So many things can change after that.
But you still had 2 wins. And a semi.
When we were talking last week, Mick was saying, hey, this whole shutdown of the world actually really favours John.
For you to have an extra year to get that knee strong and take your time, as you were saying, and to come back at 100%, say, rather than 85 or 90, it's gonna be more confidence in you, and then you're just gonna send it harder, I feel.
Yeah, for sure. And then mentally too, just not competing for so long. It's I've learned after the last couple of years, after you take these big amounts of time off, it's fun and exciting to get back into the jersey and kind of get back onto the road again.
On that subject, when we were talking with Mick last week, he was saying, because I was saying that would be a disadvantage to someone who's been off tour for so long or they haven't been in the game. And Mick was talking about how there's this visualization that you guys can do. It was fascinating to me. Can you explain that to us, Mick?
Yeah, so I guess for me, a lot of my practice when I couldn't surf was visualizing what I could do on the wave. The brain doesn't know what's real and what's not. So if you can visualize strongly, then it's sort of almost like you're doing it anyway. There's people like fighter pilots and stuff like that will visualize for an hour a day, just going through their whole routine from zipping up their suits to taking off their helmet after a flight. So is that something that you do, or is that something that I'm just a weirdo and I do by myself?
No, I think it's super important, but I think, I don't know, the way we visualize might be different. Like I like to visualize, especially when I visualize about competing, I visualize the feelings I want to have as the heat's starting, in that kind of mindset that I want to be in. And so,
what are those feelings? What are those little triggers you're looking for? Those tiny little things that we might not know.
For everyone it's different, but for me, it's more of just kind of like this letting go almost, just surfing how I'm going to surf the heat, surfing the best I can, essentially. And when I'm able to click into that mode, I feel as confident as I've ever felt, and I feel like I can really commit to things a lot on a whole nother level.
With that, I had 2 keywords. Mine was calm and confident. That's where I sort of wanted to be going into a heat. Do you have keywords that you look at, or you just don't want to give those up?
Come on, John.
I like how Mick's giving up because he's not on tour anymore and trying to get me to give mine up. Come on, I still got years ahead of me here.
That's right. Stuff can change within a year, mate.
Yeah, no. I think for me that my keywords are just surf the best I can in this moment, kind of with what I have, and it's more of it's not really a word, it's just this kind of that thought of I'm just gonna surf the best I can right now. I'm super tired, then I'm gonna kind of hold back a little bit, and I'm gonna adjust my plan. And it kind of just reminds me, rather than if there's a really good air wind but my body's super tired, not to get overexcited and just go for airs the whole time, because that's probably not going to work super well. My reactions, everything's going to be a little slower.
Yeah,
that
I
just
had the same
reminds me
problem when I was competing, with all my airs.
No way! Remember our heat in France? You did a sick air.
One, just one.
But I think that it's just for me. It's more of, it's not just the one word. It's more of that feeling of just being okay, I just have to surf the best I can surf. I don't think that anyone else can hear what we're talking about and then take that into a heat, because everyone's so completely different in their preparation and their process of getting ready. I can't take the words that you said, Mick, and they're not going to be as powerful for me,
Very much so.
So I think we can talk about these things, all we want. I don't think anyone can steal secrets or anything.
Well, because Mick can give his up and you can't, what's your equivalent of the zipper for the fighter pilot, Mick? What were your little things?
Look, I think for me, a lot of people would have seen me sitting on the beach, visualizing there. That was just a checklist for me. I'd sit there and ask, am I ready? Am I calm? Am I confident? Am I having fun? That was pretty much all I was doing there. People might have thought I was chanting or something like that, but I was just going through a mantra, and that was a mantra that I would carry out through my heat.
It's kind of hard because the routine feels like it has to change somewhat over the years to keep it exciting, in a way. Did you find that at all?
Yeah, very much so. I think there's going to be points where some things might not be as powerful. So you've got to keep adding and subtracting little things. A lot of people will have a real shitty result or a real shitty sort of time. They won't trust themselves, so they throw the whole baby out with the bathwater. Where I always found you've got to have your key things that are right there. Keep those always in there, and then slowly add little different things. Maybe it's change of a warm-up. Maybe it's change of even just the song that you're listening to paddle out with. Just the tiniest little things can just give you back that inspiration and that fire to keep going.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool to hear, because after I won my 2 world titles going into 2018, I kind of took the exact same routine that I was using, and then all of a sudden it just didn't feel exciting anymore. I was just and then it made me just so bummed. I was do I want to be here? What am I doing right now? And then I got hurt, but then it gave me time to think about it. But it was crazy, because now looking back on it, it's such a funny thing of it's not going to be as exciting because you just did that for 2 years straight, almost every single day. Mm-hmm. You got to take those little things to make them exciting. But wait, Mick, you had a pretty major injury though halfway through your career was it your hamstring?
My hamstring, yeah. 2004, I ripped the hamstring off the bone, and different to where you were because I was still on my way up. But I had 2 really good years. But during that time, I had the opportunity to finally sit down and go through everything and realize, what I really wanted to do within the sport. Back then, it was pretty much you're either surfing in a heat or you go and partying whenever you had an off day. So I had to change all that too. And also just, learning about my body, learning about what food was good. Like Macca's won't get you through a full day of competing. Just all kinds of things like that, training right. So it was a big learning curve for me, yeah.
It's crazy how injuries can become such a positive thing in a career. Through mine, I've been tripping out on that.
Yeah, when you're laying on that surgeon's table and you're like, this is happening for a reason, and you're sitting there going, what's the fucking reason? But then 6 months down the track, you sort of figure it out. Whenever this tour starts up again, it's going to be so exciting because everyone should be healthy. Everyone should be, injury-free and ready to go again. So I'm so excited to, be the couch critic again and just make sure that I don't miss a heat because I really want to see what people have done in this downtime.
Don't lie, there's a little part of you that still wants to be there.
Yeah, I'm coming back for a couple of QSs.
You and Kelly.
Oh, no. Nah. I know when I'm getting flogged, mate. I know when to leave.
Different stages of your career. Which is the most difficult? The first, second, or the third world title, Mick? And I guess whether you have any correlations with this, John.
For me personally, the first one, because you've never done it before, and it's like, am I doing things right? You're always second guessing yourself, and then you look over at people like, for me, it was guys like Kelly and Andy, and they just seem so calm going through this whole system of winning a world title. So I was like, am I doing it right? And so I just poured my whole life into that whole situation. And by the end of it, I was so exhausted, but that was the only way I knew how to win. And then the third one was totally different again, where it felt like I was a tradie. I felt like I was going and hammering nails in every single day, and I was doubting myself every day paddling out for a heat. I was like, I'm losing today. Like never felt that confident.
Interesting.
Really?
That's super interesting.
And what about you, John?
My first one was my easiest one, it felt like to me. It was funny, I didn't think about winning the whole year. I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to do the best I can in each event. I'm going to try to take what I can learn from the losses and then just move on to the next one. And I just was in that strategy the whole year of just like, okay, I lost third round. Why did I lose third round? Okay, this is why I think I lost. Moving on, I'm going to work on it a little bit and go to the next event. And I didn't get very emotional about it. And then all of a sudden we were in Portugal and I was like, and they're like, oh, you could win here. So one of the media guys told me that, and I was like, oh, I didn't even know that. That's a funny thought. And then it just kind of worked out. I don't know. All of a sudden it happened, and I was like, whoa, that happened? It felt like the whole year just happened so quickly.
Yeah. There's one thing I want to know is when you go, so there's that group of you guys, yourself, Julian, Gabe, Philippe, and now Italo. It seems like even though you guys aren't in a heat together, you're actually competing against each other, trying to create a highlight reel for the event. Is that something that you actually put mind to it, or it just happens?
I think it's definitely in the back of my head for sure, because when you see Gabe do it, like last year, I remember that snapper, he did his first heat, I think it was, he did like a big straight air, landed into like a blow tail reverse into like another snap. I was like, I got to start doing airs again. And so it's definitely in the back of my mind.
Because it sort of felt like in your first couple of years, you were sort of more going for the highlight reel rather than the actual result.
Exactly, yeah. And I think that was like those were my biggest mistakes, and I still get stuck in that mindset today.
I've got one more question while we're sticking to the world title conversation. How is it being, you have this whole groundswell of support, everyone wants you to win, and you win the first world title, and then by the second world title, everyone's sort of still into you winning, and then it flips, and you almost are in the crosshairs of everyone, and you sort of got a target on your back. What's that like to deal with?
Just for me?
For both of you guys, I guess. I'm hoping you've both experienced it.
You can go first, Mick.
I sure did. Especially in 2009. Competing against Parko for that world title. Our town was totally split. You'd be going down the street and someone would be going, "Go Parko," and then speaking to Joel, he reckons that people were going, "Go Mick," and like I don't know if they were just fucking with us or what, but it's like you start taking it a little bit personally. I know when talking to Andy about when after he won his first world title. He took it really personally. He was like, "Why is no one going for me anymore?" or this or that. Like he couldn't figure it out. "You were my mate last year. Why aren't you my mate this year?"
Yeah, it's definitely. I felt that like that 2018 year. I don't know. My mindset wasn't there, and I just felt like no one was rooting for me, and I was just like, "Oh, this is so hard," and it was really hard to get motivated with that, and everyone's like rooting for Gabe, and you're like, "Damn."
And are there any little pivotal moments where people hurt your feelings? Like any moments you remember like that are awkward or anything like that?
I remember this one interview I had after and this is funny, it was after my first world title, and it was the next year on the Gold Coast. And some guy goes to me, "So how does it feel, you kind of won a world title, but Mick wasn't really on tour, so does it really count?"
You would have flogged me anyway.
I was like, "Oh, I don't know." I didn't even know how to answer it. I was just so just took it to heart. I was like, "Oh."
So when I did come back on that year after, you took it real personally and just comboed me in every freaking heat. So yeah, thanks whoever that guy was.
No, it was funny that year that you came back, we had a lot of heats together. Getting you in the very end with like some sort of little error or something.
Little one, yeah. That one at Bell's was tiny. Yeah.
Well, it happened at Bell's twice. It happened with the alley-oop, and then it happened like again in that same event with like a little air reverse on the inside.
I know. That's when I was like, yeah, it's time to quit.
No, that was a lot of fun. I was stoked. Like I remember when you did in France, and you did like a pretty sick air, and I was all fired up. I was going back on the jet ski, and I was like, "What? That was sick."
G'day fellas, it's Seamus here from Phillip Island, Victoria, Australia, and I'm just curious about your opinions on asymmetric board designs and whether or not we'll see people using them competitively within, say, like the next 5 years. Stay safe, guys.
You got to stick to something that's pretty damn functional in all conditions. So, yeah, I can't really see them making a huge impact on tour, but in saying that, a crazy long point break where you just getting tubed might work.
Yeah, I think I've never actually even ridden one, but like you said, I've seen guys ripping on them. And then when I heard that question, I heard Gabe at the pool last year. I heard Gabe was riding one board on the right and a different board on the left. And so that kind of made me think about that in an interesting way. Like if you had an asymmetric board, one that's different going on the left of the pool and one that's different going on the right.
You've been riding Pizels since you've come out of your mother's womb. Have you tried other people's boards, or you've just always stuck to John's, or are you willing to go and try other people's boards? Because I can order some DHs for you.
I have tried other boards for sure. I've tried some Merricks and I've tried some JS's. I've tried a couple of Mayhems over the years, a lot more when I was younger. But I just found, I've grown up, like you said, I've grown up riding Pizels boards. And so they really fit me in the way I surf. And I like it because I can go in and fine tune them really well. Because you've been riding DHs for a long time, huh?
I have,
also?
But I always added in new things, There was a time there where I'd only ride Takoros in Hawaii, or, every time I go to California, I'll pick up a Mayhem. I like to just see what other shapers are doing. It might necessarily be the board that I'll go and take into a heat or an event, but it's something where I'll pick one little thing and say, DH, maybe we can try this or that. Like, DH is always going to be the guy that makes my boards, but, if you can find a little 1% here or there to add, that was always the key for us. And, some shapers do get a little bit butthurt when their number one surfer goes and tries someone else's, but I think it's pushing the shaper as well.
For sure, and to that point too, I rode one of Kolohe's boards at Bell's last year, and Kolohe's grown up surfing lowers and T Street and all those tiny gutless little waves, and so his boards really fly over the water. And so I rode this board Mayhem made him that was really short and really skatey, and I was just like, whoa, this thing is sick. And then coming into this year, I kind of took it back to Paizel and adjusted it a little bit more to myself, but that same kind of idea, and then it was going to be like the board I was going to ride on the Gold Coast. But so it's interesting, you can kind of take those ideas from guys that are really good at shaping in those certain areas.
Love it.
Elegant theft, boys, that's what it's called.
Jacob Zake from La Jolla, California, and I want to know the boys' thoughts on the Olympics being in a wave pool instead of a shitty Japanese beach break.
Go, you Olympian.
I think that the wave pool would have been pretty cool to have the Olympics in. I think it's kind of set up for that in a way, just like that stadium arena setup. You can run it anytime, have a lot of spectators. But at the same time, I love surfing in the ocean. I love it's mysterious and you don't really know what's coming. You don't know what's going to happen, and it's kind of it has that unpredictability. So I do love that it's in the ocean. It makes it hard.
I sort of look at it more as it's every 4 years. Giving everyone equal opportunity every 4 years would be really cool. But yeah, I'm happy to see it in the ocean and just pray that there's actual waves.
Hey guys, it's Josh from the Central Coast. Mick, you're a legend. Sam, thanks for making this. But John, how did you process that heat with Zeke at Bell's?
The heat with Zeke at Bell's was in my really down mindset time, and it just pushed me even further down. But it was a good wake up call for me, because I kind of went into that heat I'm just gonna surf my best, but then when you have someone like Zeke who's so competitive and such a good competitor, and he just starts really battling you in the heat, you're just it threw me off 100%. I was so thrown off. I was standing up on waves and falling oh my gosh, this is hard. But I think overall it was a really good wake up call for me.
Was that one of those little personal moments that Zeke was probably cheering for you 2 years ago, and now you're in a heat with him and he's trying to paddle over the top of you thinking you're a priority buoy?
For sure. And that was right in that time that we were talking about, that was right when I was feeling everyone's against me. This is this is hard.
Hey Mick, John Stab team. This is Tom from Germany. Hope you're good. I really love your new sailing movie, John. Just want to ask if you got some more trips planned in the future. Cheers.
Thank you. And I don't know yet. We'll see. I definitely would love to do some trips in the future though and find some really good waves. That's my goal. It's go on one of those trips and just absolutely score big barrels. For me, I really want to learn just more crossing oceans. That's a scary thing. It's a scary thing to cross an ocean and go that far.
So, to get some scale, what's the level of fear, say, a storm approaching you in the ocean or surfing the Pipe Masters on a gooey knee?
A storm approaching the ocean, because I have a lot less experience with that, I feel like. I surfed a lot of heats at Pipe.
Hey, my name is Taylor Purser from the south coast of New South Wales. With both of you, Mick and John, having had knee surgeries, does it play in the back of your mind when you go for a surf that it could happen again?
Mate, I freak out. I'm still not 100% surfing yet, so I'm scared of cutbacks, I'm scared of floaters, I'm scared of tubes, I'm scared of everything right now. But I think with an injury like that, the surgeons actually tell you you're probably likely going to do your other one, so it is pretty terrifying.
Yeah, it's definitely a terrifying thing. You just have in the back of your mind every time what has happened in the past. Or even if you get like a little tweak, you're like, oh, was that bad?
John Florence does the best surfing in his career over the next 12 months. Without crowds in Hawaii, he pushes the envelope too far and sustains his third major injury in as many years. He pulls out of the Olympics in 2021 and a 49-year-old replacement surfer takes his spot.
I'll deny it for you.
I definitely deny that. Like I said, I'm coming into this one, I feel like a lot smarter. I'm taking my time.
What do you mean?
Deny. I think for someone that's been injured twice in the last couple of years, I think we're going to do all precautions never to get injured ever again.
Yeah, exactly.
By 2025, John will have nailed his third world title. He'll then sail to a small Pacific island, live off the grid and the land with his family.
I'm not going to run away to some Pacific island and never come back.
He already is on a Pacific island.
Yeah, I'm already on a Pacific island.
Living with his family. Pretty sure he can figure out how to get off the grid.
Yeah. He's somewhere in that realm, though.
No, John's going to compete until he's 52 just to break a record.
John joins the search and kicks off the next search program on his boat with Mick and Mason.
I'll confirm that. No, I'm joking. Got inside word from management. No, look, would love to have him, but yeah, look, I don't know. It'd be awesome. I'd love to do a boat trip anyway with you. You know, if it's on the same label or not, I'm willing to go. It'd be so fun.
Yeah, we don't know what's going to happen, but I think having Mick and Mason on the boat trip going surfing empty waves would be like a dream for me.
Until you suck on a boat with us for 10 days and then we just totally alter your life. And you never come back the same ever again.
Oh, perfect. Well, nice one, boys. I really appreciate the time and the candor. That was really cool.
Yeah, thanks, John. Appreciate it, mate.
No worries. Thanks, you guys. That was fun.